Shalom, Israel, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Mashakum Lakabashai, right? Yahweh, who the world even calls God, and Yahweh Shai, who the world even calls Jesus Christ, right? Brother Benjamin Youngwolf, back for another video for the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashim Mashakum Lakabashai, right? Peace and blessings, right, to the church of Israel for the four corners of the earth, and the elect men for the four corners of the earth, right? Those who are praying, fasting, studying, making videos, meditating, examining themselves, by going on the highways and byways, keeping the feast days, by giving alms, by keeping the Sabbath, by checking on one another, and all that they could do to magnify the name of the Lord in His last days, right? So the topic of this video is going to be a quick video for the Spirit, right? Deuteronomy chapter 28, the blessings and the curses, right? Deuteronomy the 28th chapter, right? The blessings and the curses, right? The blessings that when going into the blessing that the Most High promised to us, like if we obey, right, His laws, statutes, and commandments as the Hebrew Israelites, right, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American men, women, and child, right, and the curses that he would put upon us, going against the laws, statute, commandments, and judgment that he promised to our forefathers, right? So first, just go to like let me see if I can share my screen so like it bear for me one second. Yeah, so like most of my brothers and sisters will hear me, all right? So like yeah. So like I don't know some for some reason it's not letting me share my screen, but we still going. Let's dive into it, right? Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy 28, right? So like this is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 1. So, right? Because it's like before we go into the so it's like blessings and curses, right? And now is the high time our people should know the blessings that the Most High will give us if we come back to if we come back to Him, but and the curses if we don't come back to the laws, time commandments of Yahweh. Ba'ashim Mashiach kum lak Yahushai. Right? So that yeah. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28. So like let's first because our people gotta wake out of sleep, right? Let's get so like let me get that precept real quick before we dive into it. Right? This is the book of Romans, Romans chapter 13 and verse 11, and it reads this, and that knowing the time, that now it is a high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believe. Right now is the time to put away, idolatry, fornication, paganism, right, envy, hatred in your heart, right, all these things we got to put away and come back to Yahweh Bashim Yashai in his last days, right? We got to serve the Most High, right, and put away the things of this world, right? America, right? This government, this system, right? All these things, You know what I'm saying? Is lead us to destruction. It disconnects us from our power, right? Our source, right? Our God, right? Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, right? So we got to put away this thing and come back in righteousness and humble ourselves and serve the Most High, right? So let's go into it. This is the book of Deuteronomy 28 and verse 1, right? And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Right? So the Lord said, if like meaning if it will come, it will happen. That's what it means when it says it shall come to pass. That means it's going to take place. It will happen. Right? If thou will hearken diligently, meaning if you pay attention, if you listen, if you take heed, right, to what I'm telling you, right, how to serve me, right, how keeping my laws, and commandments, and judgments, what you have to do, what you're not supposed to do, right, all this. That's what it means to hearken diligently, right, unto the voice of the Lord thy God, right, unto Yahweh Shem Yahushai, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all the nations of the earth. Right, so Deuteronomy 28 and 1 says, right, because Deuteronomy the 28th chapter, Salaki, right, it really goes into the reciting the blessings for obedience, right, and the curses that the Lord poured upon us for not listening to Him, right? That's what the 28th chapter into goes into, right? But it says, I'm gonna read that again, and it shall come to pass if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, right? That all Saka, this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations. So that's one of the blessings, right? The Most High say, you'll come back to me, right? You keeping the Sabbath day, you loving your brother in your heart, right? You loving your nation, right? You loving your children. If you got children, your wife, if you got your wife, whatever your nation, right? You keeping the high holy days, you keeping the Sabbath day holy, right? You praying, you meditating, you studying, right? You going over your precepts, right? You know what I'm saying? You praying for one another, you praying for your congregation if you're part of one, right? You fasting for one another, you giving alms, right? You say you Exactly. You're going on the highways and byways, shaking the hand, right? Bringing, letting the heathens know their judgment, right? And letting our people know who they are and what, and let them know that they got to come back to the marriage to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, right? These are the things that we're supposed to be doing in these last days, right? Because the Lord said, if you do these things, I'll put you above the nations, because that's how it's supposed to be, right? We're supposed to be the head, not the tail, right? But reading on, it says. So that's what it goes into, right? It says, and then it goes into Salakia, right? If you keep the laws and command, keep the laws the Lord will put us, because the white men are supposed to be above us, right? The Hamites, the African men are supposed to be above us, right? The Egyptian men, the Italian men, they're not supposed to be above us, right? The East Indian, Elam, they're not supposed to be above us, right? But since we go against the Most High, we lost our power. Now they have that opportunity to take over us, right? To bring us down, right? And be on top of us and reign over us, right? Because that's how we in these curses, we subject to payments. We gotta go to work, right? We gotta go to their grocery stores. We gotta eat their food, right? Their drinks. We gotta go to them for everything. You know what I'm saying? Just because we disobey the Most High, why Yahweh Shai? We're not keeping the laws, statutes, judgments of the Most High God, but we want to, right? We want to do Mother's Day, all these things, Christmas, right? We want to celebrate June. We want to celebrate Thanksgiving, Christmas, Halloween, all this, 4th of July, all this madness and folly. The Lord never gave us these days. But yes, we're still doing it. But that's why the nations will always be on top of us, right? Because we keep sinning, we adding sin and to sin and to sin. You know what I'm saying? So let's go read on. Let me get a precept, Bible, right? So in order for us to come back on top, we gotta come back to the Most High. Let me get a precept. Let's go to Leviticus. So like, give me 1 second. Leviticus, I want Leviticus, I believe the 26th chapter. Leviticus chapter 26 and verse 3, right? Quick research. Leviticus chapter 26 and verse 3, and it reads this. It says, if ye walk in my statutes, right, and keep my commandments and do them, right? So that's what we gotta do. It'll say, if ye walk in my statutes, right, and keep my commandments and do them, then will I give you rain in due season, and the land shall yield her increase, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit. Because right now the land is mourning, right? The trees are sick of the so-called white man ruling, right? Even the animals, the fishes, the seas, the water is defiled, is dirty, the air is polluted, just because the so-called white man, right? The devil that the Bible speaks of, according to, you know what I'm saying? He's reigning over us, the wicked, right? The border of wickedness, right? The Everything is not where it's supposed to be at. The trees are dying, right? All these things, that's why we gotta come back to the Most High, so we could be in rulership, and all these things going to be joyful and in righteousness, how they're supposed to be, and how the Most High set it up from the beginning, right? So let's read on in Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse. Let's go to verse 15. This is the book we're going to jump to verse 15. Second, let's read on verse 2. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Blessed shalt thou be in the city, and blessed thou shalt be in the field. Blessed shall thou be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Blessed shall be thy basket and thy stone, sack and thy store. Blessed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and blessed shalt thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall cause thy enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face. They shall come out against thee one way, and flee both before thee 7 ways. Right? So basically, the Lord said all these things. If you keeping the laws and commandments of the Most High, He's gonna bless us with all these things. You know what I'm saying? Our fruits and the stores, everything. You know? But the only solution to that is putting away paganism, idolatry, right? Putting away envy, hatred, right? All these things we gotta put away, and keeping the laws and commandments of the Most High, and He's gonna set us back on top. Right? Let's go to verse 15. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15. Right? It says, right? This is the curses from the Lord, right? When you read from verse 15. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Right? So the Lord said it's gonna come to pass. That means it's gonna happen. What? If you don't listen to me. Right? That's why it says, if thou wilt not, keyword not, hearken, right? If you don't listen, if you don't put to mind, if you don't pay attention, if you don't seek, if you don't humble yourself and keep the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, right, unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, right, observe to do all His commandments, not some of them. Not one day you're doing this one day you're loving your brother, next day you hating your brother, you have envy in your heart, you have jealousy in your heart. All these things not going to get you nowhere but to destruction, straight up, right? Observe to do all His commandments and His statutes, which I command thee this day. So the Lord commands us to keep the laws. Like, it's not an option. Oh, I'll keep the Sabbath this week, or next week I'm not going to keep the Sabbath. Or you know what? I'm gonna go out on the highways and byways, this week, but I don't feel like going out next week. Hey, that's a crazy mindset to have. That's an off mindset to have. You know what I'm saying? The Lord command us to keep the laws and commandments. Yeah, it's gonna be, it's not gonna be easy because we're in our land of captivity, but you cannot be just doing things like willfully and just using that as an excuse, right? When you could go harder for the Most High, while your congregation, your nation, right, your household, right, your family. You know what I'm saying? I'm reading on to observe and to do all His commandments and His statutes, right, which I commanded this day. that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Right? The Lord said, all these curses that come upon thee and overtake you. Not only the curses are going to come upon you, but it's going to be so bad, it's going to overtake us. Right? All these curses. What are the curses? You know what I'm saying? Reading on. Cursed shall thou be in the city, right? And cursed shall thou be in the field. Verse 16, right? So all these curses, right? Diseases, right? The white man shooting us down in the street, right? We hating our brother. We ready to kill our brother just because he stepped on our new pairs of Jordans, right? Or adultery, envying brother's wife, right? Hatred, right? Eating pork, shrimp, crab, lobster, right? All these things we breaking. That's why we have all these curses upon us, right? Not keeping the Sabbath day holy, right? Not keeping Passover, tabernacles, Pentecost, the new moons, right? Destruction of Nicanor, right? All these things, not giving alms, right? Not praying for one another. That's all these things we're not doing that we're supposed to be Salakia. I'm gonna say that again, Salakia. All these things all the righteous things that the Most High told us to do, and that we're not doing. That's why we curse in the city and in the field, right? Even though back then, the on the plantation field that you have the sugarcane field, the tobacco field, right? All these other fields that the white they were in slavery, right? In Egypt, all these things goes back to not keeping the laws and commandments of the Most High God, right? Not obeying, not listening. But yes, we want to listen to the so-called white man when he tell us to do anything, right? All this folly and madness that the so-called white men, right, and the other nations, right, and the heathens tell us to do, that we're not doing it. It's like we're doing it. You know what I'm saying? So all these things we gotta stop listening to the other heathens and come back to the Most High, our true heritage, our culture, and put away this idolatry and man-made religion and that religion mindset and all these things that we gotta put away and come back to the Lord in sincerity and in truth and humble ourselves as so-called Hebrew Israelites, right? So-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American men, women, and child in these last days because time is ticking. Time is ticking, right? Consider. You know what I'm saying? So all these things we gotta come back to the Most High and seek righteousness, humble ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Pray, fast, study, right? Put in that effort. And you have some brothers, oh, it's hard. Oh, I'm in the land of captivity. Oh, I can't do this. I'm tired. My back hurts. My feet hurts. I can't go to camp. I have my head hurts. All these things we gotta put that away and stand up as men. And bring out the word in these last days, right? As Hebrew Israelites, right? Yeah, we go through pain and stuff, but that's not really excuses. So we all go through pain. We all gotta go to work. We all gotta work the extra hours. You know what I'm saying? We all gotta wake up really early, right? But we gotta put in time for the Most High, right? Every day brothers, if you got to, you got to put a schedule together, right? Put a schedule, Monday to Friday, whatever the Sabbath, you do this at that time. You come for work, you do this, all these things. Put a schedule so you could have a good format, and you won't be all over the place, right? You know what I'm saying? When it comes to serving the Most High, right? Reading on. It says, curse shall be in the city and curse shall be in the field, right? We curse every in the city, in New York City, right? Chicago, Baltimore, right? St. Louis, right? In the Caribbean, we curse in Haiti, right? St. Lucia, right? Grenada, Jamaica, right? St. Vincent, right? We curse in California, right? Washington D.C., right? All these other countries, Atlanta, like all throughout the whole focus of the earth, our people are cursed, right? We curse on the streets, we homeless, right? We on drugs, right? We on crack, right? We drink till we get drunk, right? Right? We take all kind of stuff that destroying us. That's why we curse in the city, right? Our people are here begging, our people are here hungry, right? Our people are cursing the city. You don't go and see the so-called white man cursing the city. It's our people. It's majority of our people, 99%, right? Just because we went against the Most High. We put on the we give our Most High, so like we give the Most High our back instead of our face, right? And it should be the other way around, right? Seek the Most High and turn to the Yahweh Bashim Yahushai in his last days. Until don't give up in his last days, right? So that's why all these things we curse in the city. Our people on drugs, right? And it's a sad thing to see that. You know what I'm saying? It makes you sometimes it makes you want to shed tears, but we know that's the curses we disobeyed Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, our Creator, our Source, our power, right? You know what I'm saying? And that's what the heathens like. Because they like us to be at the bottom because they'll be on top. But it won't be like that forever because it didn't set up that way. But first, we got to do our part. The Lord is waiting on us. We're not waiting on the Lord. Yahweh Bashima Masha Komlak Yahweh Shai is waiting for all so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American men, women, and child to get it together, right? Before it's too late, right? You get it together before it's too late, right? Stop worrying about what other people think about you or your worldly family. Or you're always going to camp, right? You always gonna go on the highways and byways. Why can't you stay home and read the Bible, right? You know what I'm saying? You in a cult, right? You don't love us anymore, right? You change, right? You're always in the Bible. You're always praying. You're always fasting. Why are you always fasting, right? You never want to go out on Saturdays, right? You're always staying home or you're always on the streets, right? Get your life together, right? Live your life, one life to live. All this madness, folly, and unwise words they're gonna say to you. Because you have to understand that most some of your family members, hey, some people are just created just to be destroyed, right? And the most I put that spirit on them to test you also. You gotta look at it that way, right? Whether you're gonna hearken on what they say, or you're gonna choose the most high. Who you gonna choose? Your family members or your most high, Yahweh Bashing Yahushai, right? So you don't let these things get into your head. That's why you pray to the Most High, fast, and be humble and sincere about it. I just don't do it just to do it. Oh, I just did I fasted and stuff like that. No, we gotta do these things in truth and sincerity, right? So all these curses are people so you could get the hell out of this captivity, right? Let's go. Let's read on. Let's go to verse 21. Verse 21, it says, The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he have consumed thee from off the land, whether thou goest to possess it. You know what I'm saying? So all these things, pestilence gonna fall, all these things you're gonna go through, right? Just because we're not coming back to the Most High. We want to do our own thing. We want to go to Catholic Church, clap our hands, catch the so-called Holy Ghost, right? All this madness and folly that has nothing to do with the Most High definitely in his last days, right? So that's why we gotta come back and serve the Most High in truth, right? According to the Holy Bible, right? The King James Bible, you know what I'm saying? And loving your nation, right? Reading on, verse 23. It says, and thy heaven that is over, it's like, and the heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. Right? You see that? All these things we want to be going through, right? Now is it, that's how the Lord said, now is the time to come back, awake out of sleep, right? All these things is, coming back to the Most High, You know what I'm saying? And serving Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, right? And not giving up in these last days. You know what I'm saying? So let's read it on. Let's read on verse 26. It says, "And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away." You know what I'm saying? All our dead bodies, right? The so-called white men killing us down in the street, shooting us in our back, right? The so-called Chinese men, right? Things that you stole a bottle of water when you didn't, and still chase you and shoot you down in your back. I'm talking about that self-defense. You know what I'm saying? All these curses and stuff we're going through is because our, we disobey the Most High. Our bodies are getting shot down in the street. We're still getting lynched, murdered, right? And the other nations, that's what they do, right? They take advantage of us. They shoot us down in the street, and they still find they're like, oh, they're not guilty. I'm saying that's why we gotta come back to the Most High, and the Most High gonna put us back onto the other nations. We're gonna put the so-called white men in slavery. We're gonna put the so-called African men in slavery, the so-called Italian men, East Indian men, the Chinese men, the Japanese men, all these other heathens. We're gonna put them in slavery, right? And they're gonna feel that pain, right? We're gonna put them in slavery, you know, righteous. That's righteous judgment, right? And that is, righteous judgment. You know what I'm saying? Righteous judgment, right? We're gonna put these other nations in slavery, right? For all what they have done to us and what they are still doing, right? All these things we're gonna do, right? And they deserve it, right? And we're not gonna spare them. We're not gonna have, oh no, no, no. Hey, they're gonna get it back for all what they have done to us, and they're still doing, right? But our job as Hebrew Israelites, as the real Jews, according to the Bible, right? We got to come back and come back to our Creator and get it together, right? Reading on. Let's read on to verse 29. It says, Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 29. And thou and it's like here, and thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in the darkness, right? And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. Right? You see that? So we're gonna be oppressed, right? You know what I'm saying? Just like it says, shall group at noonday, right? Our people crying out, we're going through pain, we're suffering, right? We're subject to payments, we're always going through this pain day in and day out, right? You know what I'm saying? As a blind man gropeth in darkness, right? And we're not going to prosper in our ways, right? You might try to open up a business, you know what I'm saying? It's sort of like, you got to shut that down, right? Your business is not last long as you wanted it. Hey, we try to do things that some of these things not working out because of these curses. And knowing that knowing the other nations, they're knowing that it's like they know who we are. They know that we're the chosen one. We are gods on the earth. Right? We are the children of the King of Kings and the Lords of Lords, right? Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, right? The only true and living God, right? Because remember, all these other nations, the gods they dead. I'm gonna tell you straight up. Krishna is dead. Buddha is dead. Allah is, well, yeah, I'm gonna say Allah is dead in that aspect. You know what I'm saying? All these fake gods, Caesar Borgia has been dead. You know what I'm saying? All these fake gods are dead. They're idols. Because that's why I say he'll come and destroy them, right? The fake gods, they're not living. They're dead. They're nothing. Just like the heathens, they're nothing like the God. You know what I'm saying? He says, and thou shalt be oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. Meaning no man is able, no group, a nation will be able to free us from this slavery. But Yahweh Bashim Yahusha, right? Because they like us to be in slavery, subject to payments, and all these things. You know what I'm saying? But we got to come out to the Lord's statutes and commandments of the Most High God in these last days, right? And put away evil and stop hating your brother in your heart, right? Stop having envy and malice and all this crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, bro. You know, you going out there in the highways and byways, and you reading for a brother, hey, and you not knowing that brother envy you. Well, that brother, I want that brother have nice car. Why can't I have it? Well, he has a nice house. He has a wife. He has kids. Why can't I have it too? Because the Lord don't want you to have it. Straight up, right? That's not, especially if you're just coming to the truth, the knowledge and understanding of the Bible, how bashing your shine, knowing who you are. That's not supposed to be your main focus, right? The Lord says, "Seek ye the kingdom, and all these things shall be added unto you." Right? Let me get that real quick. Right? Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, meaning seek how to serve the Most High and Yahushua in in first, right? So because some brothers come to truth, they're so wise, knowing that the wise can just depart from them. And that's a terrible mindset to have, straight up. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 6, and verse 33. But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, meaning what is righteousness? His laws, statutes, commandments, and judgment. And all these things shall be added unto you. That's it. Right? Stop. Oh, I want you just, brother, 2 weeks in the truth, brother looking for a wife. Brother want to make kids. Right? It doesn't work that way. Right? It don't work that way. You know what I'm saying? And that's not supposed to be our main focus, to be honest. Right? So like it for the background noise. It's the lock, yeah. Right, so all these curses and all these things like that's gonna come upon us. You know what I'm saying? That we got, serve Yahweh Hashem Yahshua to our best of our ability and put away sin, right? And come back to the Lord's and commands of the Most High God, right? And so let's go to verse let's go to let's go to the book of so that's Deuteronomy. Just go to Deuteronomy 28. Let's go to verse 30, right? It says Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 30. It says, "Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt build, so like thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof." Right? And all this is curses, right? Because that's what they used to do. We should have wives, especially back then in slavery, right? When you our wife, the so-called white men, the slave masters, and the devils, right? According to the Bible, right? That's they used to take our women from us. You're right, and that was crazy work, right? That was sick. You know what I'm saying? All these things that we went through because we went disobeyed the Most High, right? All these things, right? And he says we shall build a house, but we shall not live in it. Right? All these things that we build, that we know, especially now we're talking about now, we build in the White House. We build. We don't live in that. Right? We don't live in this place. Yeah, we work. We probably work in them as slaves, right, till this day. But we don't live in these mansions that we build, these tall buildings in Manhattan, right, in the cities, right. It's for the so-called white men and other nations. Right? That's why I say we shall build things and we shall not even live in it. We shall plant the vineyard, we're not gonna get the benefits or the fruits out of it. Right? Because the curses is that's on us and it's overtaking us. Until we come back to the most high and repent and forsake our sin and confess our sins and don't return back to it willfully, right? You know what I'm saying? The most high is gonna bless us and put us back where we belong. Right? But we gotta do our part. The Lord is waiting on us. Not, you know what I'm saying? Verse 31. He says, "Then thine acts shall be slain before thy eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine eyes shall be violent, taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thy enemies, right? And thou shalt have none to rest with them. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, right? And now the so-called white men, our daughters, they used to take our babies from us during, especially back then in captivity, right? They're taking our kids to other plantations, and we watched them take our kids, right? They're taking our kids, and our parents, our mothers, our fathers, they cry until that time, until the sun comes the next day, the sun comes back up, right? Because we have no power in our hand. We can't do nothing but watch. Just watch them take our kids. Watch them feed our kids to alligators. And that's the reason why they're gonna get it back. Most I will like make you and make it, yo, it's going that'll be like that'll be great, right? To pay them back for all what they are doing and they're still doing till this day. Right? Reading on. And thy eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand. Right? We can't tell the master, oh, don't take the kids. We can't tell the slave master, oh, I want my kids back. Hey, he might kill you if you say one word back then. You know what I'm saying? All we have to do is watch and cry. Cry till our eyes comes out. Seeing our kids, our loved ones taken away from our hands by the so-called white man. Right? So all these things are curses because we didn't want to listen. We want to do our own thing. We want to worship the gods of the other nations. Right? We want to bow down to the gods, serve their, do all the custom and the festivities that has nothing to do with our heritage, our culture, right? You know what I'm saying? And it says, the fruit of thy land, and the fruit of thy land, and all thy labor shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed alway. Right? So we've been oppressed and we still being oppressed. Right? We don't have physical chains on our neck, but we spiritually oppressed to this day. Our people walking through to and through, they don't know who they are. They think they thinking it's one life to live, right? Right? All the things about get your money up, like turn up, go to the club. All these things is not gonna get you anywhere, right? Oh, some brothers, some brothers coming to the truth, and they come into the truth young, and they feel like they're missing out on worldly stuff to experience. Hey, brother, you know what I'm saying? There's nothing to out there, because you by following that crowd and the ways of the other nations, like going to the club, smoking weed, smoking cigarettes, eating pork, right? Screaming crab and lobster, so-called good foods, right? Breaking the Sabbath day, right? Watching our sister turn into whores, right? Our men are in the household, right? The house is out of order, right? All these things, right? We're not here for that. Some brothers think, we were here to serve a punishment. I don't know if you ever read that, but we're here to serve a punishment. This is not life, right? That's why the Lord said we are yet this day in our captivity, right? And that's what brother gotta understand. This is not our life. This is not our place of rest. This is not our heaven, right? This is the so-called white man heaven and the other nations, right? That's their rulership, right? As men, right? I was gonna come, but we gotta do our part. We gotta go hard for the Most High, right? Make sure our households in order, right? Everything is in order. You know what I'm saying, right? So let's go. Let's jump down to Salaki. Let's go down. Let's go to verse 32. It's right with reference 32. Salaki, right? Let's go to verse 38. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 38. And reads this: Thou shalt carry, Salaki, right? Thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and thou shalt gather but little in, for the locusts shall consume it. Right? So meaning that all this work we we put in back then, right? For the other nations who as slaves, we wasn't getting nothing out of this benefit, this field and stuff, right? They used to get the benefits, right? Meaning that we will work very so hard, very hard. We're gonna get a little. We're gonna get nothing for ourselves, right? The other nation is gonna get mostly all of them, and we get the cramps when it's supposed to be the other way around, right? Reading on, verse 40. Let's go to verse 41. Thou shalt begat, Deuteronomy 28 and verse 41. Thou shalt begat sons and daughters, but shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. You see that? Right? We're not going to enjoy them because what? We see them. They've been taken away, right? Our eyes crying all day long, watching the enemy take them from us, right? All these things. That's why we're not going to enjoy our kids, right? We're not be able to enjoy them in righteousness, right? Are we supposed to, according to the Most High God, or Yahweh Shai, right? According to the Holy Scriptures, right? And let's go verse 40, verse 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. Right? Meaning that that's how it is right now. Like I was saying, we're supposed to be the head, but we're the tail. It's supposed to be the other way around. Right? The so-called white man not supposed to be ruling over us. He's the cancer of the earth. He is nothing. He's less than nothing. He's like unto spittle, a drop that falls from a bucket. All these things, right? He has no melanin. He's done, right? Right. The so-called white women are dogs, right? According to the Bible, right? Just by looking at them, it just makes you vomit, right? You know what I'm saying? And knowing what they doing, what their ancestors did to our people, and what they're still doing to us to this day, all the stuff we're going through, right? All these things, right? The so-called white man, Amalek, right? All the riches and the gold they stole from us, we're going to take it back, right? We're going to put all of them in slavery according to the Bible, right? And they're gonna serve us for servants and handmaids, right? For servants and handmaids, right? So like, right? For servants and handmaids, right? Reading on. Verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, right? Shall pursue thee and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which I command thee. That's it. All we gotta do is serve Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Right? Serve the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Right? That's all we gotta do. Serving the Most High. Right? And in truth and in sincerity. And keep the faith going. Right? Serving the Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Right? That's all we gotta do in these last days. Loving your brother. And by you serving loving your brother, you're gonna serve the Most High. You love your brother as you love your neighbor as yourself. Right? What you don't want for other brother, you should not want it for yourself. Or that brother's, other brother's family, or the brother's house, or whatever the case may be, right? And that's verse 49. It says, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49, verse 46, right? It says, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, right? Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. Therefore, thou shalt serve thy enemies, which the Lord thy God, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until thou be destroyed. Right? Right? So that's what the Most High say. We're going to sell the other nations in hunger, meaning when we need something to eat, we got to go to the grocery stores, we got to go to Western Beef, BJ's, uh, Popeyes, whatever food people we eat. Right? We gotta go to them. We gotta go to the so white man store, supermarkets, the so Chinese man across the street, the East Indian man. We gotta go to the gas stations. Right? If you want clothes, we gotta go to on oils. We gotta get our clothing from them. Right? If we want stuff to drink, we need water. We gotta go buy the water from them. We can't take water from the sky. According to them, that's illegal. Right? We can't do that. Right? But we have to serve the Most High in sincerity and truth. So all these things will be put away with. Right? That's why I said hunger in thirst and in nakedness, in clothing, and in want of all things. Meaning, when he says "I want of all things," you want a house, you got to go to the so-called white man. You need a passport to travel. To get out of the country, you have to go to the so-called white man. You need to get your permit, your driver's license. You need to go to the so-called white man. Right? You need to buy car insurance. You need to go to the so-called white man. Everything you got to go to the so-called white man. The birth certificate, a so-called white man. Right? And it's not supposed to be that way. But it is that way because we went against the Most High, right? It says, verse 49, the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, right? When it was the swift as eagle flieth, we all know that, the so-called white man. That's what the animal, the symbol, the pride, right? They have in their heart, right? The bird, the eagle, right? It's on the dollar bill. They use that's what they use the symbol for from Rome back then, and they're still using it. You could tell in the White House, right? Everywhere. It's on the dollar bills. It's the eagle. So the Lord said, "As swift as eagle flies," right? Which tongues shall not understand. Meaning the language we speak now, English. That's not our original language, right? Our forefathers didn't speak English. We speak that Paleo Hebrew, right? The Hebrew, our language, right? That the Most High gave us. Where it says, "As swift as eagle flieth," meaning it shows you that the other, meaning the so-called white man is talking about. That's the symbol they use in Europe, in Rome, everywhere they rule in this world. That's what they use. So that's to show you. That's why it's also said it's a sign. It's for a sign and for wonder. It's not upon us seed forever. That's to show you that we know that we are the real Jews. We are the Hebrew Israelites. We are God's chosen people, right? So-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American that the Bible's speaking of, right? How can the Amalek, the so-called Jewish men, be God's chosen people? How can they be a real Jew, right? Does like make that make sense? Right? Give me a break. You know what I'm saying? How could they be the real Jews? Right? These people they don't know what's going on. They're sick, right? They're pedophiles, murderers, thieves, the borders of wickedness, right? They stole our heritage, our nationality, right? Right? They hate our God, they hate us, right? All these things they can and they're not cursing the city, right? They own the industry, the music industry, right? They own the banks, the schools, right? The hospitals, right? They own all these YouTube platforms, all these internet, the apps, everything they own, right? They have their own police force, right? They own doctors, lawyers, right? Schools, everything, hospitals. You know what I'm saying? I see it all. I'm a witness to it. I see it every day, right? And all these things get me upset. Just knowing that they stole our nationality, right? And that what we gotta do to come back is to come, serve the Most High, right? And that's what the Lord said. That's what we're gonna say, right? Because we're not afraid to say it. That's what the Lord said, right? That's what the Bible said, right? We're here to speak truth, right? Now is the time to put away all these so-called white man lies, philosophy, folly, madness, and come back to our church culture, right? Verse 54. He says, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his brother, and towards the wife of his bosom, and towards the remnant of his children which he shall leave. Right? So Lord said, you know what I'm saying? Delicate. We used to want at one point we used to be delicate, loving, tender, merciful, kindness to our brothers and sisters, but now we can't stand each other. Right? We walk in the streets looking at each other with a mean eye, a mean face, right? So that you don't even know the brother from nowhere. You have envy in your heart, you have jealousy just because the brother what he tries, how he leads. You hate that brother, right? And these things is not going to get us nowhere, but it's going to keep on separating the nation. When the Lord said we have to gather a nation, not desire, right? Because what? The other nations, they're not going to do nothing for us. We got to gather in righteousness. And I don't mean gather together in protesting on the streets in Times Square or in Chicago, in Baltimore, and other cities, in if a banner saying justice, no peace. Hey, coming together mean coming underneath the banner, the umbrella of the Most High God, right? Keeping the laws, statutes, commandments, and judgment, righteousness, and sincerity and truth according to the scriptures, not according to men, according to the Catholic, Pentecost, 7 days, right? All these man-made and folly, and these things now they keep on destroying our people, and our people think, you know, it gets them somewhere. And all it does, it makes you feel good and set you up for destruction. That's it, right? You just want to die with your so-called white man, the enemy, and that's crazy work, right? God forbid, right? His eyes shall be evil towards his brother, and slacking, right? With wife the bosom and towards a remnant of children which he shall leave, right? Because what it goes into, right? Baby mama, baby daddy beef, right? Oh, the father leaving the household, he having kids with the wife, and 2 minutes he says he'll go into the store, he'll be back, and next minute he has a whole family in St. Lucia, in Mexico, in you know what I'm saying, in Maryland, somewhere, right? He leave the household, and that's what we need. We need the father to be in the house, because the father plays a big role within in the household, right? Set orders according to Bashim Yahusha, right? But somehow the men of our people they leave their household, right? They leave the children with the wife, and it's not supposed to be that way. That's a sin. That's all these things are curses, right? And that's wicked, right? And these things separate us more as a nation, right? That's why you gotta come back to Yahweh Bashim Mashakum Lakam, repent, put away evil, right? And love our people, man. You know what I'm saying? Let's get let's get the needle of the coffin. Verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there he shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Right? So we were brought here on slave ships. We are for punishment. We are not brought here to serve life, to make it in the society, to make it into Hollywood, to sell our souls. Right? All these things, we're not sent here to do these things. We were sent here for on a punishment so that we could learn to come back to the Most High, because this is our last captivity, right before Yahushua makes his return. Because when the Yahushua comes back, it's over. Whatever you put in, that's what you're going to get back. You know what I'm saying? But we were brought here on slave ships. Bondmen, slave men, bondwomen, slave women, and no man shall buy you. Meaning, nobody, no nation, no one, right, is able to redeem us, free us out of this situation, this slavery, captivity, this bondage that we're in, right? This bondage. That's what Exodus chapter 20, right? Bondage, meaning Egypt, meaning the house of bondage, right? So that's why we gotta understand that here is not, this is not our heaven, right? This is our hell, right? And we have to understand that and accept that as Hebrew Israelites in these last days, and put away sin, right? Come back to Yahweh Bashim Shai, right? Start to pray, continue to start praying. You know what I'm saying? Fasting, keeping the Sabbath day holy, eating eating clean foods, putting away unclean foods, right? Providing for your household, providing for your children, your wife, your nation, your congregation if you're part of one, right? All the things that we're supposed to be doing, right? Fasting, going on house and Bibles, giving alms, praying for our brothers and sisters' household, praying for your household, praying for your loved ones, praying for the whole nation, for the four corners of the earth, right? Praying for our people that's mentally sick, right? Disabled, right? That don't have it together. All the things that we're supposed to be doing and crying to the Most High, right? And praying that the Most High take away not the Holy Spirit from us in His last days and increase our faith, wisdom, right? In His truth, right? So that we could grow greatly and sincerity and, and in faith, right? So all these things that we got to do in these last days. Now is not the time to be celebrating Mother's Day, Father's Day, Thanksgiving, Juneteenth, 4th of July. What is things? There's the history behind it if you know about it, right? When you dive into it, it doesn't benefit our people, right? That's why we gotta come back to the Yahweh, Bashim Mashakom like Yahushua as Hebrew Israelites, right? So Mosai, when brothers and sisters were edified for the spirit and power of the Most High Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, right? And it was a quick read for the spirit, right? Right, Deuteronomy the 20th chapter, right, is the milk, right, the basics, right, just touching on the blessings and the curses throughout the chapter, right, what we gotta do, what's gonna happen when we come back to the Most High, right, you know what I'm saying, and and why we got into these conditions and what we gotta put away in these last days. Stop eating unclean foods, you know what I'm saying, and love your brother in your heart, right, and all these things we gotta do, and serve Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, right? So most I want to give first and also I want to give all praise to Yahweh, by Shima Mashakum like Yahushai, right? Once again, most I win brothers and sisters so edified for the spirit, right? And most I when I could touch on this again and dive more into it, right? Most I willing, but most I win brothers have an understanding for the spirit and power of the Most High God, right? Continue to pray, fast, study, right? Go on the highways and byways, you know, take notes, watch videos, you know what I'm saying? Get your household in order as a man, right? And some brothers, just on the couch, all they do is watch videos, right? They don't take notes. They don't read. Some brothers don't even read, right? Or some brothers only pray in the morning when they get up. They don't pray when they go to bed, right? You gotta read and for yourself in the scripture. You can't be only watching videos all day, 24/7. Your feet on the couch, you're chilling, and you're not taking notes, right? You're not reading to see what brother's reading. You're not going over the notes to meditate over it, to meditate over that scripture. That's why you gotta write down notes. So when you're going through hell, that's why the scriptures is there for our learning also. I just gotta bring that out, right? For when you go through hell, for our learning, our comfort for much tribulation, we're gonna endure for the power and spirit, so like the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai. Right? So brothers, gotta get up, do the work, give alms, get on the highways and byways. Right? Some brothers in this truth for so long, and they stop going on the streets, right? Because the women might say something, or the family might say something. Hey, we don't care about that. Straight up. Right? We're here to serve the most high God. That's why we were created. Right? To serve Yahweh Bashim Shai in truth. Right? To the best of our ability, right? So get up, go do the work on the highways and byways. Stop being on the couch, just watching videos all day, all week, and not taking notes of the scriptures to go over your notes because the Lord commanded us to study, right? The Lord commanded us to read. Right? Some brothers forget that. Yeah, you grow. It's not only growing your beard out, keeping the Sabbath day, having fringes. Hey, the Lord command you to read and have understand. Read for yourself. Right? Take notes, go over, you have to study to show thyself approved. That's why the Lord said it's a command. It's not an option, right? Some men household in the household they don't read, just watch videos all day, right? And if then that's the end of it. No. Read, dive into the scriptures, read and then have understanding, meditate, you know, and study your precepts. Just don't write them down just to write it down. Oh, I wrote down precepts to then close the book. No, right? Meditate. Not only when so not only when you're going through tough times, only when you every time, what I'm saying, you go everything's going good for you. Hey, you still gotta be in the word of the most high, right? Because some brothers pick and choose when they're supposed to read. Well, I'm not gonna read today. Hey, stop procrastinating, right? Put in that work. Don't give up. Fight that fight. Fight these evil spirits. Fight this spiritual demon Satan, right? And don't let worldly people get into your head, right? And continue to stand 10 toes down for the Most High, no matter what people say, think about you, or talk about whatever. Because if the Most High once the Most High is for you, nobody could overthrow you, right? As long as you serve in the Most High in truth and sincerity, right, and in faith, and you believe, right. So with that, I just had to put that out there. But with that, again, I want to give up praise to Yahweh Bashim Mashakum Lakim Shai, right? Slakia, 1 second. Come. Opus Yahweh Shai, Brother Benjamin Youngwolf, uh, Deuteronomy the 20th chapter, blessings and curses, milk, right? And all this I say is fair use. Knowing Esau, they're trying to take down brothers' videos and channels and stuff, right? But the truth gotta be told no matter what, right? So continue to pray, fast, study, continue to pray the Most High to increase our faith, right? Even though you fall short, get back up, right? And don't be getting worse in this truth. You have to be increasing this truth, right? And pray for the Most High to take not away the Spirit from us, increase our faith, right? And in wisdom, and the Most High will protect, guide, provide for us in our household, our nation. And you gotta believe that. And with that, all praise to Habashima Mashakum Lakoshai, peace and blessings to the church of Israel and the elect men for the cause of the earth. Kom Yashala. Shalom.